Hi, everybody. Noodles today is with us, enjoying. He has a very strong opinion, like I do, about bad journalism, and so that's what we're going to talk about. So, and it's actually good news. Well, bad journalism is bad news, but the good news is that there's not much COVID to talk about. In the last, in the last 2 weeks now, I think I haven't seen a single COVID patient. I think it's wonderful to know that it's pretty clear that things are on a downturn, which is great. And I don't have anything else to add to that. Last time when we met, it was the long COVID day, and we talked a little bit about some of the statistics and some of the sort of, long COVID related issues. But maybe we are in some good terms in terms of COVID numbers being dwindling down, and hopefully at least till fall we're gonna get a little bit more of a break. Okay, so today's topic for me is bad journalism, more bad journalism, and and my personal attempt at explain how I think you should combat bad journalism. Well, you can't really combat bad journalism, but you can try to read the bad journalism, understand when it's bad, and try to make your own opinion that is more balanced and more appropriate. So let's start out with not just bad journalism, but also, so today's double whammy, bad journalism, and why I think that the American Heart Association has been completely sold to the devil. And it's okay if I get recorded, that's fine. I'm half joking. But it is a little concerning that not only they're allowing horrible articles into their best journal, which is American Heart Association journal, but also it's horrible that they're presenting it as if our findings of the articles are correct. And of course, when American Heart Association, I put that in the chat, when American Heart Association presents something that rings like, okay, if you do intermittent fasting, there's 91% chance of you dying, it creates this crazy media outbursts, because they're not going to try to sort of go and investigate what the study said, what's the reality. They're just going to sort of, jump on it and say, oh my God, everybody should stop intermittent fasting, which is completely wrong. Study is a disaster. There's going to be multiple rebukes. So the way they did this, they basically took an analysis of the existing data set, and they said, okay, let's look at the mortality when we compare people who are fasting versus not. This was not a controlled trial. This was not set to be anything, not even a case control. Case control is when you say, I'm going to go forward and observe people who do one thing or the other thing and then see what happens. So they're not controlled, but I'm going to just observe two similar populations doing different things. So that would be called case control, because your control is your other case, quote unquote. Now, of course, the best control study to assess what is the relationship between mortality and intermittent fasting, if you were to set this question, would be to do the following: would be to take a group of people that have relatively similar parameters of risk of cardiovascular disease, since they assess cardiovascular death, and say, okay, let's compare intermittent fasting to normal diet. We'll randomly assign people and move forward, see what happens. No, what they did, they just looked at the data. And then they basically said the following: because we found this is true. So this reminds me of the famous anecdote that goes like this. If I right now will say anybody who eats cucumbers is going to die, you will never prove me wrong, right? With that same exact statement, I can say, now everybody who eats tomatoes are also going to die. And now I'm going to compare people who eat tomatoes and cucumbers, and those who eat cucumbers, actually, I'm making this shit up, sorry. But those who eat cucumbers going to die 10 times more likely, right? So you see the total morality of this way of thinking. But this is exactly what this study did. They didn't bother to think why this could happen and try to analyze. They didn't bother to organize the way, the thought process forward to prevent any kind of biases getting in. Horrible design, horrible decision-making. And what's even worse is that why the top journal of the United States of America, top cardiovascular journal, will allow bad science in. This is what I call bad journalism, because it's sensational, because it speaks well against lifestyle, because obviously American Heart Association has nothing to do with lifestyle. They're all about drugs, and more procedures. And so whenever there's sensational something that speaks against the trend, which people perceive healthy and good, it's gonna draw attention to the organization. That's the only reason the article was published. It's been picked up by every media. You can find it anywhere. Don't believe it. Don't believe a word of it. It's all BS. Okay. Actually, that's probably as bad of the cursing that I'll do for today. Okay. Because I had to vent this out. The other article that we'll talk about, it's easier to discuss for me because I understand the reason why journalists pick this up in a wrong way. But this one, I just don't get it. So now, what is the reality of intermittent fasting? Because there have been few studies that are much better controlled, or a controlled, not better controlled, but just a controlled, have raised some suspicions in certain settings. I think the main issue with being concerned with intermittent fasting is not getting enough protein early in the day. So there is a clear data to say that when people on intermittent fasting losing weight, if you're not careful at taking a ton of protein in onset in the first meal of the day, not breakfast, right? Because you may not have breakfast, whatever your first meal, maybe it's lunch, maybe it's even dinner. If you didn't take enough protein at that point, it does seem like you're losing some of the lean mass. And that is the only way you can somehow, and this is what their authors making the sort of conclusion, is that because you're losing lean muscle mass, you're going to lose that lean muscle mass from the heart, and you're going to have a higher chance of cardiovascular disease. They don't necessarily say that exact wording, but there's one of the speculations in the article. That is actually not a speculation. That's probably a true statement. You will have a chance of losing. Sorry about the dogs. You will have a chance of losing lean muscle mass if you're not careful. If you're going to significantly decrease protein intake with the first meal of the day. So you have to be more aggressive. So I actually recommend for most people to take at least 20, if not 30 grams of protein with that first meal. So that's my first point. So by the way, I'm sorry, so forgot to mention, if you have questions, drop them in the box as usual. Okay. Jennifer put a joke. Which half of the soul did the American Heart Association sold to the devil? I don't know. We'll see. They can arguably, I don't know, the bad part. Okay, so the second article is much more interesting in my opinion. That's why I chose to present this. Actually, this is kudos to Yael Flasberg, our yoga therapist. So as you obviously know, we do work relatively closely with Hopkins Institute for Psychedelics. We sort of know what they're doing. I talk to one of their investigators periodically. He was Dr. Garcia, he was on our podcast. We love the team. We think they're doing great science. So when this article comes out, so this is recent, this is just yesterday. So this is New York Times, basically saying entire psychedelic institute is a bunch of hippies and they shouldn't be studying. A lot of criticism that Roland Griffiths was a bad guy. It's a very, very negative kind of an anti-New Age article that is completely baloney. Like just from the first word to the end, it basically diminishes any kind of scientific validity behind psychedelics. It didn't even bother to actually go in and do the research and realize that no, psychedelics for depression is 3 times better than existing antidepressant, not like the same efficacy. So this one I understand why I think it appeared. I think there is a attempt by a journalism to balance the psychedelic craze, because it is there. So there's a lot of notion out there in the, not just in the media, but in the general public, that psychedelic is a kind of a new renaissance and new best thing ever for psychological health. And, you know, while some of it may have pearls of truth, as a whole collective statement, it's obviously blown out of proportion. And more importantly, what we do know, just from general human experience, when you have anything new, in the beginning, it's always going to have a better outcomes. Why? Because there's a massive placebo effect that pushes newcomers, pushes new people who want to get better towards that treatment, and they do get better, but they don't get better because of the substance. They get better because of the better placebo effect. We do know that well. So I think I understand the attempt that this journalist is trying to make. Is basically saying, look, let's slow your horses down. Let's think about this more scientifically. Let's try to evaluate this better. Let's try to collect more information. Instead, the way the article comes, and instead, like, the whole thing is presented as if Johns Hopkins Institute for Psychedelics shouldn't exist, because they're now not scientists. They're just a bunch of hippies, making people feel better by shooting down psilocybin. Literally, that's when you read the articles, that's the sense you get, which I highly disagree. I mean, we had multiple discussions with the leadership of the Institute. It's highly evidenced. Everything they do goes through really, really rigorous study. It's not a new age whatsoever. They have to create a space that's conducive to the sessions, right? So the place looks like your psychology office with comfortable cushion and couch where people can lay down and have an experience. There is a certain music that they develop that is indeed can be seen as quote unquote new age music, but it's not. It's either certain brainwave tuning sounds or classical music or some mix of two. And so there's nothing non-scientific about any of this. Every step of the way, they followed all the scientific standards. So it's very sad for me to see this. And it's also very sad to see that journalism in New York Times is sort of like just really one-sided. It didn't try to say, look how much good that this created. Look how much in the states that have legalized psilocybin, look at the level of drop of depression, and there's profound. I mean, and so that's the reality is that we're going to see an improvement in psychological health when psychedelics are going to get legalized everywhere. Of course, we're going to see problems. Of course, we're going to see some abuse happening. Not without that. Of course, it's all expected, but we're not going to have 20% of our population depressed deeply, right? Taking a whole bunch of chemicals, not getting any better, just feeding into the medical industrial complex of a pharmaceutical company getting richer at the expense of people not getting better. So we will see the movement, definitely, and we'll learn how to more effectively apply this tools as the time goes by, as we have as we deschedule or reschedule some of this substance so that they can be studied better. One of the problems, there should be 10 Johns Hopkins institutes for psychedelics, right? Or 20. It should be studied across the entire, world in different settings, in different situations with different protocols, rather than just critiquing one site just because it was funded and it's been in existence. So, okay, I think I blubbered enough. I don't see any questions, but I'm welcoming questions for 2 more minutes before I hand it over to Nina to lead us into both wellness and also into the mind-body two-brain. Well, yeah, so the right, Tom, they're trying to sort of pivot some of the internal politics. There's always internal politics. I'm sure that complaint had other political. I'm sort of slightly aware of some of the internal crap that's happening over there. Oh, I did well. I didn't use a worse word. That's good. So, I'm quite well aware of that. I didn't want to bring this up because I feel like, trust me, if I look into the dirty underwear of our own institution at GW, I can use a lot worse words. And it's just right? It's just politics. Every institution has its own. It doesn't mean that it should be flushed towards the New York Times so that the whole world see what's happening. It just doesn't make sense. It based on that. But I don't think that's actually the main thing. I think they just, again, it's a sensational. It's an attempt at showing to a public something that attracts people attention first and foremost. So your job, all of our job, is when you see stuff like this come up, not only being critical, especially when the logic of it starts suffering, but really be able to go and identify the original work that was done and try to interpret this. So with the first study, we talked about it. It's not even published. It was presented at a meeting. So I can't even evaluate details of that study very well to say it's BS. I read the review of it and it's already BS because methods look BS. But in order for critique to be right, I have to see the article. So I'm going to make the video about it, of course, on my YouTube channel later when I see and review the whole article. So stay tuned for that. So no questions for today, because I see Nina is ready and Janet already highlighted. Okay, well, if there's no questions, if you come up with questions, shoot me into the text. If we have a minute at the end, we can do it. Otherwise, Nina, thanks so much for being here. Let's talk about mindfulness and MBSR and all the great things you're doing.
Thank you, Misha. Well, it's great to be here this Friday afternoon with everyone for the Mindful Experience. And want to just give you some information about the upcoming Mindfulness Based Stress Reduction program. For the spring session, it will start on April 8th. And this is a comprehensive 8-week program, so there's 8 classes. And each session is crafted such that you're going to explore different stress management techniques in the form of mindfulness meditation. And there will be discussions on the themes of stress, the science of stress, the stress response, chronic stress, acute stress. So you'll learn also the underlying research on how mindfulness is effective in reducing stress in terms of the physiological stress response. You'll also gain knowledge into how to work with the mind states of stress, so stressful emotions, stressful thoughts. And there will be time for groups to meet, so you get a chance to meet with other individuals and share and get to know each other. So a great community develops. And there's also going to be homework. So the home practice is what helps you really develop a strong mindfulness meditation practice. And then when you come back to each class, each meeting, we discuss the practices and I'll answer any questions you might have. So that's what the program consists of. And there will be an intro, a free 1-hour intro to MBSR session on Tuesday, March 26th, and Janet will provide you with the links. But that's a great session to go to. I'll be leading that, and you'll get a taste of what the MBSR classes are like. All right. So now we're going to move into the mind-body practices for today, and I'm going to offer you 3 meditations. So we'll start out with a gratitude practice, and then we'll move into the body scan. And then we'll close with a focus on mindfulness of breath. And these practices are also included in the MBSR classes. So right now you're also getting a taste of the meditations offered in MBSR. So inviting you now to, as we move into the meditations, to find a posture that's comfortable for you, whether you're sitting or lying down or standing. And as you settle in, just taking a moment to close your eyes or have a soft gaze downward. And we'll take a moment now to take a few deep breaths to perhaps release any tension from the body. So let's take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Let it go. Another deep breath in through the nose. And a long, slow breath out through the mouth. Let it all go. Returning to the natural rhythm of your own breathing as you're ready. Now we'll be moving into our gratitude practice. So gratitude, the mindset of gratitude offers a powerful protection for the mind. It's like a vitamin we can take, protecting us from dwelling in negative states and orienting ourselves toward the good, appreciating the blessings in our lives and benefiting from the ease that comes from this very helpful attitude. And we can cultivate it right here. So right now, as you're sitting here, once again, return your attention to your breath, coming in and going out. If you like, you can bring a gentle smile to your face if it feels right. Discovering how smiling might influence the body. And now I'm inviting you to think of a good friend or a loved one in your mind's eye. Bringing to mind what you appreciate about this person, their good qualities. You can even imagine naming these qualities to them, like, I appreciate your smile, generosity, your humor, your intelligence. Taking the time to do that. And noticing how their qualities might bring some joy or appreciation to you as well, as you're sitting here breathing. Noticing how the body feels. And now letting go of this person in your mind's eye. Take a short pause to feel the ground beneath you. Noticing your feet against the floor, your legs, buttocks against the chair or the cushion. Noticing your hands resting on your lap, perhaps, and the feeling of the whole body sitting here breathing. And now take a moment to consider your life as if for the first time with a fresh look. And noticing what's beautiful about your life and what do you appreciate. Think of three things you're grateful for right now in your life. Bringing them to your mind's eye as vividly as you can. Feeling the breath and noticing how the body feels as you think of these three things you're grateful for. And maybe more things are coming into awareness that you're grateful for, which is just lovely. Taking in any sense of positivity you feel right now, as you might be basking in the glow of just feeling grateful. And bringing a kind attention and acceptance to anything else that's coming into awareness. You're just opening up to gratitude, not trying to force anything, just letting yourself be, sitting here breathing, feeling gratitude. This feeling of gratitude you might have access to right now is a beautiful protection for the mind. It can be cultivated in this way. And when we see the world through this lens of gratitude, it loses a bit of the hostility we might perceive in it, becomes a bit more bright and hopeful. Now returning attention to the breath. Feeling your breath as it's coming in and as it's going out, moment to moment. Whole body sitting here breathing, moment to moment. And now we will move our attention to different parts of the body, noticing sensations with the body scan. So as you're ready, bring your awareness to the physical sensations of the toes in the left foot. Bringing attention all the way down the body, down the left leg to the toes of the left foot, and just noticing what they feel like now as you're breathing. Now simply bring your awareness to the top of your left foot. What does it feel like right now? The bottom of the foot, the heel, and then guiding awareness up to the ankle. And now noticing the lower part of your left leg, breathing with it, the shin in front, calf muscle in back. And drawing awareness up to the left knee, the left thigh, and the entirety of the left leg. And then taking the spotlight of your attention all the way down the right leg to the toes in the right foot, scanning into the top of your right foot, guiding the awareness into the heel and up into the ankle. Moving attention into the lower part of your right leg, the shin and the calf, as you're breathing, moment to moment. If at any time you notice your mind wandering, just note that as thinking. That's perfectly natural, and then gently guide your awareness back to the body. Now we're scanning attention up to the right knee. Bringing awareness up into your right thigh. Noticing now the entirety of the right leg and foot. And drawing attention up to the hips. To the waist. And then guiding this attention into the belly. Scanning up through the abdomen to the chest. Perhaps feeling the chest rising and falling on each in and out breath. Guiding awareness now to the top of the shoulders, perhaps softening the shoulders. And scanning your attention now down the left arm all the way down to the left hand and the fingers, tips of the fingers, the thumb. And scanning through the fingers into the palm of the hand. Back of the hand. And scanning attention up the arm into the wrist and the forearm. The upper arm. And then bringing your attention to the right hand, tips of the fingers, the thumb, scanning into the palm and the back of the hand. And scanning attention into the wrist, the elbow, the right upper arm. Once again, noticing the shoulders, scanning awareness to the neck and the throat. Just noticing what sensations are present here right now. Guiding awareness up into the back of the head and now into the jaw. Scanning attention into the lips, teeth, and the tongue. Scanning up into the forehead and the eyebrows. Bringing this awareness up into the top of the head and the scalp as a whole. Just being curious of what the head feels like right now as you've scanned your entire body in awareness. And sensing the body as a whole now, from the top of the head, Scanning attention all the way down the body and out to the bottom of the feet and the toes. Feeling the body in its entirety, breathing moment to moment. And perhaps right now, bringing that attitude of gratitude to this body and all that it does for you, allowing you to function, to sense, to feel, to walk. So many things this body allows us to do. So, thanking the body, meeting it with kindness. And meeting it with gratitude. And moving into the last part of the meditation, once again to focus our attention on the breath. This time I'm inviting you to pick an anchor spot to focus on your breath. It could be your belly, your chest, your nostrils. And then just feel the breath sensations as it comes in and as it goes out, moment to moment. Each breath is a new beginning. And as you're focusing on the breath, perhaps also bringing in this attitude of gratitude for your breath, your body's ability to breathe, to be alive moment to moment. Each time you notice your mind wanders off from the breath, it's a moment of mindful awareness. It's a good thing. Just note that silently as thinking or wandering, and bring attention back to the breath over and over again. Each time it wanders off, that's how you're building your mindfulness muscle. Just this breath coming in, just this breath going out, moment to moment. Feeling the movement of the breath. And as this meditation comes to a close, once again, just checking in with your mind and your body. You can take a deep breath in through the nose, long, slow out breath through the mouth. When your eyes look around your room to orient yourself back into the room, noticing the sights and the sounds, colors and shapes. Welcome back. As you're transitioning out of this meditation, if you like, you can do some stretching here, shaking it out, bringing your mind and body back to awareness of the space that you're in. And maybe everybody has fallen asleep. Oh, there we go. There's Janet.
Oh, we have Sheila. Do you have a question